Hey everybody, welcome back to Arcane Eye. Today we're going to be talking about the perfect combination between might and magic in D&D 5e, which is the Eldritch Knight. This is a fighter subclass that gains access to abjuration and evocation spells, and they can use that to meld into their fighting to create an even deadlier type of fighter. And today I'm going to show you how. Please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel if you want more build guides, and of course, if you have a friend that's struggling to build their Eldritch Knight, go ahead and share this video with them. Alright, so here we are on D&D Beyond. We're going to go through our character creation from level 1 to 20, and I'm going to be showing you all of the choices that I'm going to make the perfect Eldritch Knight. I'm going to be explaining a little bit behind the reasoning here. So let's go ahead and get started with our race. So for your race, you want something that's going to be either strength or constitution based, probably a +2 to strength and a +1 to constitution, even though intelligence is the Eldritch Knight's spellcasting ability. We won't be using that too much, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later, but for the sake of simplicity here, I'm going to choose a variant human just because they start off with a feat. You get to choose your ASIs, and you can just make a generally very powerful Eldritch Knight out of that. So let's try selecting this. For languages, I'm just going to fill in whatever, and then we're going to bump our strength and constitution. For our skills, we are going to choose, again, whatever's going to be best in your campaign. I'm going to choose persuasion. And then for our feat, we're going to choose Great Weapon Master, which is the best feat for marshals who are going to be swinging some heavy weapons. This is going to allow you to get an extra attack when you score a critical hit with a melee weapon or reduce a creature to 0 hit points, which you'll probably be doing often because you're a fighter. So yeah, getting an extra bonus action attack out of that a couple times per combat is going to net you a lot of extra damage. You also get the ability to, when you're attacking with a heavy weapon, which we'll be wielding a greatsword with this build, you'll be able to take a -5 penalty to your attack roll, and if the attack hits, you get +5 to your attack's damage. This is great if you have advantage on the roll, or if you're fighting an enemy that you know has like a lower AC than what you're capable of hitting. It's a great way to statically bump your damage, and it's also a really good way to outpace a lot of the like cantrip attack options that Eldritch Knights get, but we'll be discussing that later on. And now we're going to choose our fighter, hit add class, proficiencies. Again, this is going to differ based on your campaign, but I'm going to choose perception, and then I'm going to choose intimidation. Just nice to have perception because perception checks are very common. Then intimidation is good to have a bit of a bonus to a social skill. And then fighting style. Here we're going to go defense. Because we're going to be wielding a heavy weapon, so it's nice to offset the ding that we'll take to AC from not wielding a shield. Usually you get +2 AC when you're wielding a shield, but at least this fighting style gives us +1. And then, yeah, we get our second wind at first level, which is just, you can use a bonus action to regain 1d10 plus your fighter levels of HP per short or long rest. All right. So now we're going to use point buy just because that's standard. It's something that you can replicate on your end. Here I'm going to max out my strength as much as I can. I personally don't like having any negatives, so I'm going to give 10 to wisdom, charisma, dexterity, and intelligence. And then I'm going to boost constitution as much as I can, and then seeing as we are Eldritch Knights and we have 1 point left over, I'm going to bump intelligence up to 1. This isn't going to, or I'm going to bump it up to 11. This isn't going to give us any beneficial modifier, but if we get an ASI, we can bump this up to a +1 modifier at some point, so you're not wasting it at least. For the description and background stuff, this is all going to be based on your campaign, unless you're playing in the newer rules. We're choosing a background provides a feat. If you are doing that, I would recommend choosing something like Rune Shaper, which is going to get you a feat that essentially allows you to cast certain spells using runic magic. But seeing as this is kind of like an intro level tutorial, we're just going to choose something from the player's handbook that doesn't provide us a feat. So let's go with a noble. For our skill, we'll choose stealth. Always nice to be a little bit stealthy. Tool proficiency doesn't matter here, neither does the language. And we can choose our equipment. So for choosing equipment, we're going to start off, we're trying to get our AC as high as possible. So we'll go chainmail. Between these two, I guess it's like if you're going to be fighting with a greatsword, it's nice to have a shield just in case you need it for some reason. So I'm just going to be choosing this here, even though I won't be using a shield. I'll be using a two-handed greatsword. I'll choose 2 hand axes and then an explorer's pack, and then this is what I get from my noble background. I'm going to click add starting equipment, and then I'll wear chainmail and wield my greatsword. And here's what our character is looking like just as a first level fighter. So he's already got great weapon master, which is great. He has a chainmail, and the defense fighting style brings his AC up to 17, so we're doing all right there. But let's start upping our levels so we can see what an Eldritch Knight is going to get us. So at level 2, all that happens is we get Action Surge, which it's a really important ability for fighters. So essentially you can take an additional action. That action can be to like make an attack, cast a spell, which are all things that Eldritch Knights want to do. Once we go up to 3rd level here, we get to choose our martial archetype, and that is going to be the Eldritch Knight. So we get access to spell casting, which there's a big chunk of text for, but I'm going to give you an overview, and a weapon bond, which is also pretty cool. So essentially for spell casting, you get 2 cantrips of your choice from the wizard's spell list. I'll go into which spells we're going to be choosing in a minute. And then you also gain access to spell slots. So these spell slots are what you're going to be using to cast spells. Again, I'm going to cover what spells you're actually going to use in a minute, but this is an important thing to note here. So you start knowing 3 first-level spells of your choice, 2 of which must be from the Abjuration and Evocation spell lists. So that means that most of these spells that you know are going to either be focused around defending yourself or attacking an enemy. Funnily enough, you could also learn healing spells because some healing spells are from the Evocation spell list. And when you increase the spells that you know, they all must be from the Abjuration or Evocation spell list, except for the 8th, 14th, and 20th level. Again, I'm going to cover which spells we're going to choose all the way through this. This is another important thing to note, that your spellcasting ability is 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your intelligence modifier. So your intelligence modifier will dictate how effective your spells are. But what we're going to do with an Eldritch Knight is we're going to avoid any spells, really, that need your intelligence modifier. You can choose these spells if you want to have more of like a might and magic kind of character. But essentially what we're doing with our Eldritch Knight is we are using certain spells that will increase their combat prowess, usually self buffs, so you're not making spell attacks, which require intelligence modifiers, and you're not causing enemies to save against your spells, which again require your intelligence modifier. So what spells are we going to be checking out? Let's take a look here. So at the beginning, we're going to grab Booming Blade, which is a really, really good martial spell. So essentially, as part of that action, you take a weapon attack, and if you hit, then the target becomes sheathed in a booming energy, whatever that is. And if the target willingly moves 5 feet or more before then, they take 1d8 thunder damage and the spell ends. So that's always nice if you're going to hit an enemy, then move, or if you hit a prone enemy, something along the lines of that. And then Green Flame Blade is the other cantrip that we're going to learn. So this one is really good for when you're in a crowd of people, because as part of the action you make a weapon attack and it deals the normal weapon attack just like Booming Blade was. So with our greatsword it's going to deal 2d6 plus our strength. And then the when you hit, if there's another creature within 5 feet of it, the second creature takes fire damage equal to your spell casting ability modifier. So that's not particularly impressive while we're at first level and our spell casting ability modifier is 0, but as you increase your level, so at 5th level, first creature will take an extra 1d8, and then the fire damage is 1d8 plus your spell casting ability modifier. Part of the great thing about these blade cantrips, both Booming Blade and Green Flame Blade, is part of the spell's description says you make a melee attack, and that means that you'd be able to combine it with Great Weapon Master, so you'll be able to cast the spell as an action, then before you make your melee attack, choose whether or not you want to take the -5 bonus to get a +10 damage. So yeah, it works well and intertwines with the feat that we took at the beginning of our character build. Okay, so those are our cantrips. Now let's start looking at our spells. So, like I said, we're looking to pick up spells that are going to buff us and won't require a spell casting ability modifier because we're dumping that. So one of the best ones for this is Absorb Elements. So whenever you're hit with acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage, which is quite common, you gain resistance to the triggering type of damage, and then your next melee attack on your next turn will take an extra 1d6 of that damage, so you kind of absorb some of the energy and then deal it out. That's a good spell, but probably the best spell for this is going to be Shield. So essentially, when you're hit by an attack, you can use your reaction to add +5 to your AC against the triggering attack, or you take no damage from magic missile if you're fighting a caster. Seeing as we already have 17 AC, we'll now have 22 AC every round that we use Shield. So you're at 3rd level and you're already turning into this very, very potent tanking Eldritch Knight that can also dish out damage with their greatsword. And then, while there are some other good spells like Protection from Evil and Good, you are an Eldritch Knight and you're going to want to blast people like Geralt of Rivia can. So I'd pick up Burning Hands just, in case you run into a group of goblins and you want to singe them. But, you can do whatever you want here. Another good option would be Featherfall in case you jump off something high. You could also do Find Familiar, which can give you advantage. Your Familiar can give you advantage on your attacks, which is pretty impressive. You can go Protection from Evil and Good, which is also quite a potent buff. But yeah, right now we have 1 Abjuration, 2 Abjuration, so you can choose anything here, but we're going to go with Burning Hands. Let's level up to level 4 here, and instead of taking an ability score improvement, we're going to choose a feat, And for that feat, we're going to choose Warcaster. So not only does Warcaster give you advantage on Constitution saving throws to maintain concentration when you take damage, something that's not particularly important right now because we don't have any concentration spells, but it will be important later on. But you can also perform somatic components even when your hands are full with weapons and shields. You'll also be able to cast a spell if a creature provokes an opportunity attack. This is really big because you'd be able to use Booming Blade. And if you hit, then they have the not only do you get that extra damage, but if they want to continue moving, they're going to have to take an extra however much damage from your Booming Blade. So Warcaster's a really good pickup here at level 4, even if the first point isn't going to be important until later on down the road. And we also get one more spell, and here we have to take an abjuration or evocation spells, so I suggest taking Thunder Wave just in case you're surrounded and you need to blow people out. Okay, on to 5th level. So at 5th level we get our extra attack, which means we'll be swinging with our greatsword twice, which means that we'll be doing 2d6 plus 3 twice. Funnily enough, this almost exactly equals the amount of damage you'd be outputting by proccing Booming Blade or Green Flame Blade. So it kind of depends whether you want to be seen as more of a martial or caster Eldritch Knight, but it probably makes most sense just to swing with your greatsword twice, get the damage done, and then you don't have to worry about a creature being within 5 feet of you or a creature deciding to move after it's been hit by Booming Blade. So yeah, just better to take your vanilla greatsword attacks at this point after we get our extra attack. Then at 6th level, we're going to get our ability score improvement. This is the first time that we're just going to be boring, and we're going to dump both of our increases into strength. This increases the damage that you output every time you hit. It increases the likelihood that you'll hit. So yeah, this is a really important thing to start focusing on now that we've got the feats that we needed to get. Now on to 7th level. So at 7th level, we get an interesting mechanic that's going to kind of change up our Eldritch Knight's game plan. So War Magic is the ability that when you use your action to cast a cantrip, you can make one weapon attack as a bonus action. So this allows us to Green Flame Blade or Booming Blade plus attack with our greatsword in a single turn. This is usually going to make your Green Flame Blade or Booming Blade more effective than just attacking twice, but it has some caveats, so let's go into those really quickly. So seeing as you can Green Flame Blade or Booming Blade as an action and then attack as a bonus action, our initial attack is going to usually be a Booming Blade or a Green Flame Blade, especially because past 5th level, we get 1d8 added to Booming Blade or Green Flame Blade's initial attack, plus the damage that occurs when the additional effect procs is also increased. So for Booming Blade, your initial attack would be 2d6 plus 4 plus 1d8, and then if the target willingly moves, they get hit for an additional 2d8. Same thing for Green Flame Blade. Your initial attack is 2d6 plus 4 plus 1d8, and then the second creature gets damaged for 1d8 plus your spellcasting ability modifier, which again at this point is 0, but it's a bit more reliable than waiting for the opponent to move via like Booming Blade would have them do. Keep in mind that these both also work with Great Weapon Master, so you can Great Weapon Master on your initial attack, and then you'll get your bonus action attack because of War Magic, and you use your action to cast a cantrip, so then your second attack would be 2d6 plus 4. The one caveat here is if you think that you're going to be activating Great Weapon Master's bonus action with your attack. So if you're attacking an enemy that has a small amount of health, or if you have advantage and you think you're going to crit, it's pretty hard to predict, but maybe you have this feeling, you might want to just take 2 vanilla attacks, because then Great Weapon Master will give you an additional bonus action attack. So you'll actually be able to take 3 attacks in one turn, all using the Great Weapon Master plus or -5 to +10 damage, which can just net out to be an insane amount of damage. So now we also get to choose our first 2nd level spell, which is exciting. So again, you're going to be using a lot of your resources, your spell slots, to cast shield or absorb elements or something like that. But you can't go wrong with something like Scorching Ray, which is a evocation spell, and it's going to offer you a very, very potent ranged option, which your fighter is kind of lacking at the moment. So we'll go ahead and add that. At 8th level, we get another ability score improvement, and we're going to go ahead and bump up our strength again as well. So we're going to +2 our strength. This will allow us to have 20 strength, which is the max we can have. Gets us +5 to our attack rolls, +5 to damage. This is exactly where you want your fighter to be, because it'll help you output the most damage. Not only you'll hit more, but because Eldritch Knight has so many ways to gain these extra attacks, it'll result in more damage because of that as well. We also get another spell, and we're going to choose Blur, which is a really good defensive 2nd level spell. It's better than Mirror Image for people with, or for players with a higher AC, which we will have. This is because they gain creatures attacking you gain disadvantage. They don't just have to hit a certain target to reduce your mirror image, and then thereby reducing the chances or the effectiveness of it. Here it's just straight up and down disadvantage, which is going to be very hard to hit you once you have 22 AC because of your shield spell. This is an illusion spell, but seeing as we're at 8th level, we can choose a spell from a different school rather than abjuration or evocation. So that's what we're going to do here. Ninth level, not the most exciting. You get Indomitable, which is a fighter class feature. So if you fail your saving throw, you can re-roll. If you do so, you must use that new roll. So there's a little bit of gambling there. But not really, because you can only re-roll a saving throw that you fail, so you're going to fail either way. But this means that you can't use Lucky or something on your subsequent Indomitable roll. And you can only use this feature once per long rest, and you get more uses as you level up. For 10th level, we get Eldritch Strike. So this is kind of an option that allows you to... It works well with our playstyle, let's say. Seeing as we haven't been buffing our intelligence, when you hit a creature with weapon attack, the creature has disadvantage on the next saving throw it makes against a spell you cast before the end of your next turn. So if you wanted to lean a little bit more into the magical side of the Eldritch Knight and grab some spells that require a saving throw at this level, then this is going to help make it more effective. Essentially, you make an attack your first turn, and then the next turn they have disadvantage, which is, give or take a -5 on their saving throw. So that's essentially a +5 to your intelligence for spells that you cast that require a saving throw. So yeah, this can open up a couple more doors for your Eldritch Knight. We also get to add a cantrip, and we get to add a 2nd level spell. So for our cantrips, we're going to use Firebolt, which is just an old, reliable ranged option. And then for our 2nd level, we're going to use Agnazar's Scorcher, which procs a saving throw, which is good because we just got Eldritch Strike. And then, yeah, it targets creatures in a line and makes them make a dexterity saving throw or take 3d8 fire damage, which is a decent amount of damage. All right, we're halfway to level 20 here. Now we're going into level 11. So again, we get another extra attack. So what this is going to do at this point is stretch your vanilla attacking pretty far beyond the bounds of using a cantrip and then using a bonus action to attack through war magic. You know, you'll be able to do 6d6 plus 15 if you hit with all of your attacks, plus you might have a Great Weapon Master extra attack with your bonus action, which is all the more likely because you're going to be attacking 3 times, and you might crit or down an enemy with those. So at this point, we're going to be using all 3 of our extra attacks, just swing our greatswords as many times as we can, and then we're going to be reserving our spell slots to cast Shield or Absorb Elements or something like that. We also get to add another spell, and this is interesting because we're not actually going to go for a... Oh, I actually forgot to click Learn on Agnazar's Scorcher that time, but we're not actually going to go for a second level spell because we're going to kind of go back in the roster and pick up Chromatic Orb, which is an incredibly effective first level single target damage spell. All you need is a diamond worth 50 GP, so you want to make sure that you have that before you pick up the spell. If you don't have that, choose another spell. But essentially, you can get around resistances with it. It does a solid amount of damage for a single target first level spell, and if you upcast it, then the damage also keeps up. So yeah, this is just an effective spell to have in case you wanted to be a bit more magically inclined. Again, with this build for an Eldritch Knight, we're really going to be focusing on spending our spell slots for Absorb Elements and Shield to improve your defense rather than your offense. For 12th level, again, we're going to be boring here. We're going to bump our con. We're a fighter. We need to be able to tank hits, and as we're getting into higher tiers, enemies are going to be doing more damage, so it's good to have more hit points. For our 13th level, all that's happening is we get 3rd level spells, which is exciting for most casters, but full casters get 3rd level spells at 5th level, so this is, a little bit lagging behind. That said, it's always nice to pick up Fireball, so that's what we're going to do here. At 14th level, we're going to continue to boost our Constitution with our ability score improvement. So we have maxed out our Constitution now. And then we're going to head over to spells, and we're going to choose a pretty exciting option. And we're going to be really happy that we picked up Warcaster at 4th level. This is important because we also get to pick up a 3rd level spell that is outside of our class, and that means that we're going to choose, outside of the Abjuration or Evocation schools. So that means that we are going to choose Haste. Haste is just an incredible spell on an Eldritch Knight. You get +2 to your AC. You get advantage on dexterity saving throws, both of which are good defensive buffs. Plus, you can take an additional action to take 1 weapon attack per turn. So now you're going to be attacking 3 times with your regular action, 1 more time because of your hasted action. And if you score a critical hit or you down an enemy with that, you'll be able to take your bonus action attack through Great Weapon Master. That's 5 great sword attacks in 1 turn, so that's going to be 10d6 plus 30 damage to something, which is just absolutely insane. When the spell ends is like the most dangerous part about haste. You can't take an action until its next turn, but seeing as you have advantage on concentration saves to maintain concentration, constitution saves to maintain concentration, and we have that's an old spreadsheet, we have +5 to constitution, we're going to be able to maintain our concentration pretty easily. So now we're going to bump up to 15th level. So 15th level, Arcane Charge. So essentially you can teleport 30 feet to an unoccupied space when you use your action surge. This is a nice way to gain in some additional movement. You can traverse the battlefield unmarred by opportunity attacks. So like if your wizard buddy needs your help and you're dealing with an enemy, you can attack him a couple times, action surge, teleport over there, and then help your fragile little wizard buddy. At 16th level, we get an ability score improvement. Here, we're just going to bump up our intelligence by 2. We've already, got Warcaster. We've already got Great Weapon Master. That's pretty much all the feats that an Eldritch Knight is going to want. So we're just going to increase our intelligence score, make our spells a little bit more effective, especially when combined with Eldritch Strike. So that's nice. We're also going to add a spell, seeing as we're back to the Evocation and Abjuration spells only, and we've already taken Fireball. Our best bet here is going to be Lightning Bolt, so we'll pick that up as well. For some reason we didn't have Fireball there. Now we do. Okay, 17th level. Unfortunately, we don't get anything. Sometimes that happens. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. 18th level, we get Improved War Magic. So this is a pretty fun level. Not only because we get to use our action to cast a spell and then make a bonus action attack. So what that's going to allow us to do on the first round of combat is cast haste as an action, use our second action to make a weapon attack, and then make a weapon attack as a bonus action. So we're not really losing any ground when we initially cast haste. You could also, if you wanted to, drop a fireball on a group of enemies and then make a bonus action attack. So that's going to be a really fun level. It's going to allow you to mix magic a bit more effectively with your might, so to say. And at 19th level, again, another ability score improvement. Here, we're going to bump up our intelligence score again, and now we're going to have a respectable +2. It's not going to be much at this level, but it's doing something at least. And then we're also going to be able to pick up a really fun spell for a martial spellcaster, because we have 4th level spells. We're going to be able to pick up Fire Shield. So Fire Shield, it doesn't require concentration, which is going to be amazingly when you combine it with haste. But essentially, every time you get hit with an attack, the attacker takes 2d8 fire damage, or 2d8 cold damage if you're using a chill shield. You also gain resistance to fire or cold damage based on the type of shield that you choose. So this is going to be an awesome thing to either pop before you go into battle, because its duration is 10 minutes, or you can use your action with Improved War Magic to pop Fire Shield and then take an attack as your bonus action. So like your first 2 rounds in initiative could be using haste, bonus action attack, and then your 1 extra weapon attack through haste. Then your second round could be casting Fire Shield. Not only now do you have +2 to your AC, but you also have this Fire Shield that damages creatures when they attack you. You also get resistance to cold damage and fire damage. So if you're fighting like a red dragon, you have advantage on your dexterity saving throw against its breath weapon, and then you get resistance to the damage that it does do, which is just, completely negating the damage from this breath weapon. So yeah, this is a really, really potent defensive buff as well as an offensive buff, and it's nice to have at the higher tiers. So we're going to go ahead and learn that. And then lastly, 20th level. So we get our 4th extra attack. So an attack 4 times. So that's 4 times with our extra attack, once with haste, once with a bonus action, potentially, more than likely, because of Great Weapon Master. So that's going to be, a lot of damage. that we're going to be outputting because of our Eldritch Knight's offensive capabilities. We also get to choose a spell that's outside of our abjuration or evocation spells, and here we're going to choose greater invisibility. So this might seem like a weird choice, but when you look at it, it's actually incredibly effective for an Eldritch Knight, because you can attack while invisible, meaning that you get advantage on all of your attacks, and while you don't get the extra attack like you would through haste, you'll be that much more likely to land your attack, and you'll be that much more likely to crit. So having a greater invisibility up while you're just wailing into your enemy is going to eventually end up in a lot more damage than a haste effect will. So yeah, your Eldritch Knight is now good to go. We've covered your level ups from level 1 to 20, so you know what you're going to be doing every time you get that coveted level up message from your DM. This Eldritch Knight is going to be really fun to use in combat. You'll just be able to use all of your attacks to do as much damage as you can, and then when the enemy tries to focus their damage towards you, you can pop off, shield, or absorb elements to negate that damage, making your fighter that much more tanky and that much more likely to be effective in combat. If you like this build, go ahead and check out the link in the description. We have an entire guide on our site that goes through everything you need to cover about the Eldritch Knight. We go through a lot of the other really good races that you'll be able to use as a foundation for your Eldritch Knight. We go through different feats. We go through a variety of spells. So if you want your Eldritch Knight to differ from the one in this build video, I highly recommend checking out that guide. We also have a table that breaks down the level 1 to 20 progression that we just did in this video. So if you want to follow along in a text format, then you can do that. But apart from that, if you like this video, please go ahead and like it. If you want more content like this, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And yeah, we'll see you next time with our next build.